Welcome everybody, Billy Ray Rachel here, smartest ham in the world. I'm here to talk to you today about my wonderful family and the stories and wonderful, valuable lessons we've learned over the years. The first person, the matriarch of my family, my pappy, he's got to be John Wayne, like reincorporated. He is one of the toughest people you'd ever want to meet. You know, he lived his life right out there exactly the way he wanted it. He did a little backwards, but he ran it his way. First he got married at the ripe old age of 18 and married his high school sweetheart. It's so wonderful. They escaped to Maryland because apparently you could get married back then in Maryland. You couldn't get married anywhere else for some reason. But he got a job over at the steel mill and he started working, and he quickly got into drinking and partying and working doubles and smoking and doing all them things because it was the 60s. And in the 60s you could do all that stuff and you know, you didn't have to worry about dying or anything. So by the time he got around to the 70s, he was getting pretty haggard, but he was still one tough SOB. And he had his first stroke at 40 years old. And he went in to see the doctor, and the doctor looked at him and says, "Well, sir, I gotta tell you, you keep drinking and partying and working doubles and triples and overtime and you know, running around with all these women, you're going to put yourself in an early grave." And Dad just looked at him and said, "You know what, just give me a shot of whiskey and a cigarette and I'll be all right." And sure enough, he didn't exactly heed the doctor's warnings. He just went right on living the way he wanted to live. And what was really interesting about it is Mom put up with it as much as she could. She tried to throw him out, but she made a critical error when she decided to throw him out. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, and for all you men who are asked to leave the home, if your name is on the deed of the house and you're married to a woman, you know she can't legally throw you out. Believe it or not, that is true. My pappy come home one night from partying and drinking and womanizing, and my mama said, "You can't come in here. I ain't letting you in." She locked all the doors and windows, and there's a big old fight, and he's out there screaming, pounding on the door. Well, of course, the neighbors called the police. The police show up. "Yes, ma'am. Is here your husband?" "He was my husband. I threw the live son of the son out. He ain't coming in this house." "Ma'am, does he own this house?" "No, he didn't own this house. My dad bought this house for me." But when Dad bought the house, you know, whatever Mom used the money to buy the house, my dad's name was on the deed along with my mom's name. So believe it or not, the police said, ma'am, he has a right to live in his own house and to sleep here, and you have to legally let him in. So when your wife throws you out for whatever crazy illegal thing you might have done, if your name is on the deed, you don't have to leave. Now, you might have to sleep with one eye open because, you know, you may wake up with, a knife cutting off places you don't want, but at least you know never to abandon your house and your family no matter what terrible thing you might have done, because my pappy's living proof that through the years, coming back home, no matter how bad you messed up, is the smartest thing you can do. And that's the bestest thing. Now the second thing I got to tell you about is Mama, she really didn't want to put up with Dad's shenanigans. But she had her own problems. So, you know, you get growing up, it's the 70s, things, it's a wild time. Well, Mom got an addiction, and it was a really kind of wild addiction because, you know, when I'm little, I'm like 10, 12 years old. You know, I don't think of it as an addiction, but, you know, I did wonder, you know. Mom would keep having these Tupperware parties, and she became like addicted to Tupperware. I swear, we had Tupperware bowls, Tupperware cups. I mean, we even had Tupper Cat. I mean, you know, we had freshness locked in for like a billion years. Years from now, when aliens want to come see what the air was like on Earth in 1975, all they got to do is go to my mom's Tupperware, pop something open. My mom had more Tupperware than Imelda Marcos had shoes. And she kept having these Tupperware parties every Friday night. She says, if I have a Tupperware party, Dad can't have his poker game here because there'll be all the wives of the poker buddies, so they won't want to come in. And she was absolutely right. Of course, they didn't come home, but at least they didn't come to her house. So she kept having these Tupperware parties. It got so wild that she actually sold my sister at a Tupperware party to some other lady for like a Tupperware Lazy Susan thing where you could put all kinds of nuts and bolts in it and everything. They actually introduced each other at a Tupperware party, and of course that didn't quite work out, but they did get married, but it didn't go that long. But she sold my sister at a Tupperware party. So every time Dad would come home drunk and wild, she'd buy more Tupperware. I guess it was a autoimmune defense system or something. So one day, now I swear to God that my daddy says that it was never meant to be this way. One day he worked a double or a triple or something, and he come home, and it's I guess got home about 2-3 o'clock, and I was coming home from school, and I was walking home from school, and all of a sudden I see smoke. And I'm like, wow, wow, cool. When you're little, you see something on fire, it's just cool, So I'm starting to walk down a little road towards my house, towards the row house we lived in, and smoke's coming out the back of my house. I'm like, oh. So I run in to the house, and there's my daddy. He's like trying to put out a fire, and like all the cabinets are on fire, and the whole kitchen's full of blaze, and he's yelling, "Hell, come on, boy, help me put this out!" And I'm like, well, he's like throwing water on it and everything. And there's a big fire wherever he was cooking on the oven. There's a big fire on the oven, and he's throwing like water at it. And whenever he throws the water at it, it would splash more flames up on the cabinets. And I'm like, Daddy. And I'm like, I'm a little kid, but I watch them cartoons and TV shows. I want to put out fires. Daddy, throw flour and sugar on it. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, the flour put out the fire. Flour puts out everything. So he grabs the 5 and then boom. And he puts out the fire in one shot. But the cabinets are still, kind of smoldering and smoky. So he's like, how'd you know that, boy? I says, I seen on TV, Dick Van Dyke said, this is how you put out a grease fire. And you look like you was cooking something. He says, well, yeah, I just worked a double one. He says, I just want to make myself some bacon and eggs, and I fell asleep on the couch. I says, I understand, Pat, but the kitchen looks a little rough. I think Mom's going to notice when she gets home. He says, yeah, I think so. And what's really amazing is that in all them cabinets that were kind of set ablaze and were finally put out by the flour explosion, all them cabinets were full of Tupperware. I mean, my mom had an addiction. She had Tupperware everywhere. But what's amazing about it is, in a fire, Tupperware melts. And Tupperware melts in amazing ways. This $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 Tupperware collection that my mom had in the kitchen was reduced to what could fit in a cup. It all melted down and melted and melted and melted and melted to the point where, I swear to God, you could pour it into a big gulp. Thousands of dollars worth of Tupperware melted into the size of a big gulp. It was just amazing. And sure enough, after that fire is when my parents decided to get help and decided to get over their addictions. Dad, was getting over his partying, womanizing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll addiction from the 70s, and Mom was getting over her Tupperware addiction. Unfortunately, it was too late to save my sister. She did run off with the guy who bought at the Tupperware. So it was pretty sad.